when creating related service trackers in SharePoint, there's a few important things to remember. To do that, first you need to be sure you're in SharePoint and go to the SPED tab. Then you're going to scroll down here to the list of trackers. And remember, you're going to be filling out a related service referral for any student that is receiving any kind of therapy, and this includes speech language therapy, even though that's technically not a related service. Anytime a student has a new service or a new therapy added, you will complete this. And if you're holding an annual review or you're updating the student's services that they're previously receiving, then you will complete one as well. In addition, anytime that you're requesting an evaluation for any of these related services or therapies, you'll also complete a related service referral tracker. One thing that's important to remember is the psychological referral is different than the related service referral. So if you are requesting a psychological evaluation, that goes here in the psychological referral. But all other evaluations for things such as OT, PT, speech, those will all be filled out here in the related service referral. So when you want to fill out a tracker, you will select New, and I've done that through a pause because I didn't want anyone's names to show up. You'll select New, and then your related service referral tracker will appear. It's really important that you fill out all areas of this tracker. What's also important is that you fill out this tracker the day of your actual meeting. And the reason this is important is the related service team has a very short turnaround to have services set up. So I know sometimes it's hard to get your IEP finalized if you have a really late afternoon meeting and it doesn't end till 5 or after 5. But make sure you just set aside about 5-10 minutes to fill out the tracker. Now remember, each student's therapy will receive a different tracker. So for example, if they have occupational therapy and speech therapy, you would fill out 2 separate trackers. So again, you're just going to go through and fill out all the information. You'll put in the student ID number, program. On most special ed teachers, we will just choose special ed. The student's grade, the student's first name, the student's last name, and be sure all this information is filled out correctly. So really take the time to read what they're asking. Because for example, if I put intake as my case manager's last name, the related service team is going to receive that and not know who this tracker came from. And it's going to make it harder for them to fill out this information and find a therapist. So manager's last name, student status. Now there's going to be several different choices. You can select new referral, and this will be for any new student, for example, an intake student, or if a student has an initial IEP, or they're getting a new service. If you've never filled out a tracker for this student, or if the student's never had a tracker completed before, it's a brand new related service, you would select new referral. Updated referral is, for example, if you have an annual review and you're just updating because, say, for example, the dates changed. That would be an updated referral, or the amount of minutes are changing. It's either adding or decreasing. Extended school year, compensatory time, dismissal of service, and this is important. You always fill out a tracker if a student no longer is receiving services. So for example, if you had an eligibility meeting and the student is no longer eligible for speech, and you're removing the speech services from their IEP, and the team has agreed on that decision, you would select dismissal from service. Or if a parent has revoked consent for services, you would also choose this option. Provider change request, and then review of service was for those students when we initially signed up. The service start date is going to be the date of the IEP. If you are requesting an evaluation, let me just fill this out here. If you are requesting an evaluation, then it's 30 days, or the start date would be the same. The end date would be 30 days after the meeting, and that does not include weekends or school holidays. So you're going to select the service first. Again, PT, OT, OT eval. If you do select an evaluation, what's really, really important is that during the actual IEP meeting that you have a consent to evaluation form signed by the parent or the guardian of that student. It's super duper important that that be done inside of the actual meeting. We no longer want those evaluations to be agreed to be assigned over the phone. We want to make sure that it's documented in the minutes that the parent agreed to have their signature signed virtually. Once the consent to evaluation form is filled out during the meeting, you will select this attach file, and you'll find that file. I'm just going to attach anything. Select OK, and you can tell it's been attached. If you scroll down, you can see here my attachment. So that's a good rule of thumb to know if it's attached. Make sure you check that it's there. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to just say OT for my case here. Service start date, I'm going to say my day of my meeting was today. And this is an annual review, so mine is going to be a year from now. Fix that. Per session time, and this again is not the total minutes of time weekly. Make sure you read the little notes here until you get used to filling out the trackers correctly. So, for example, you don't want to say if, for example, they have 30 minutes per week of speech or 2 30-minute sessions per week of speech. You don't want to put 60 minutes. You don't want to add those sessions together. This is each session that's listed in the IEP. So my student, I'm going to say they have 60 minutes per week. That's how I have it written in the IEP. Now, service model, you only select this, and I'm going to scroll over so you can see. You can see here it says for OT and speech, you do have the option of virtual or face-to-face, but really that's only necessary if the parent or the guardian has discussed that and during the meeting they have a clear preference. So most likely you're going to select not specified in the IEP unless, like I said, during the actual meeting it's documented in the minutes that because maybe the students, due to their disability, they really need that face-to-face, or for some transportation reason, they have to have that virtual. So otherwise, you'll select not specified in the IEP. The notes section are really only for one-off situations that you need the related service team to know or understand. All right, case manager's first name, you'll put your first name there. Has the student had an address change? Yes or no? Is the address change in Infinite Campus is the address in Infinite Campus accurate? You want to make sure this is shown because when the related service team sets up services, if they do provide a face-to-face provider, they look at that address in Infinite Campus to find the closest provider. Did you attach the parental consent to evaluate? That's what the PCE is. This is very important. If it's an evaluation, you should always select yes. Obviously, if it's just a service, you will not attach that. And this is important too. Do not password protect that because it makes it harder for them to open. So attach the unpassword protected copy. And the parental consent for evaluation must be recent within the past 30 days that it's been signed. And again, if you're filling this out the day of the meeting, that won't be an issue. School, just select whether you're elementary, middle, or high school. And then select your lead's last name. And again, just check that your attachment is here. Okay, so this is one thing that we're missing and we're seeing a lot of people forgetting. I'm going to pull up the IEP progress report. This is really important. This needs to be attached for all of your related service trackers when you're attaching new services or when goals have been updated. And the reason this is important is the related service team sends this out to the provider. So you want to fill out all the information and make sure you fill out all information that you can. Obviously, the company name and therapist name, if they haven't been assigned, you can leave that blank. But fill out the student's name, their date of birth, the type of therapy, and then you can copy and paste all of their goals and objectives. Comments you can leave blank, but make sure you fill out all their goals and objectives. And again, you're going to need a separate IEP progress report for each therapy that's being provided. So if they have speech and OT, you'd want a separate IEP progress report with speech goals and a separate IEP progress report for OT goals. And again, once you have that filled out, you will go up to the top, select Attach File, and attach that. Once all of your information is correct, and I would go back and double check that everything's accurate, you'll select OK. If you stay on this screen, that means that something is not accurate. Either you haven't filled out one of the required fields or something's not filled out correctly if it stays on the screen. When you click OK, if you get to the main screen and it selects New, then that means you filled it out correctly. And I would highly suggest that you, after you filled it out, that you search and make sure it's there because SharePoint has a funny way of erasing things. So just make sure it's there. And if you have any questions, you can always attend the Related Service Open Office that the team has from 12 to 1 on Mondays.